Morning, guys and girls. Sitting out in this beautiful spot here overlooking the water, and I'm out on my morning walk, super energized. And I've kind of been thinking about this message that I wanted to share with you about how our excuses create success or failure in our life. Mostly they create failure, right? The excuses we give ourselves on a daily basis, particularly about putting things off. I'll do it tomorrow. You might want to create some kind of improvement or change in your life. It could be, I want to lose weight or I want to get fit. It could be, I want more money in my bank account. I want to be more successful. I want a different job. Whatever it is for you, you might want a love partnership. I'll put it off till tomorrow, right? Often if we go do the simple example around our fitness is, you'll be like, oh, I'm tired today. The alarm goes off. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, right? Or I'll do it later in the day. Well, the later in the day never comes. Time is finite, right? We only have 24 hours in a day. So how are you maximizing your time during that day? And how do we get motivated? And often, I'm somebody that's always self-motivated, but there's times when I'm super tired and I do the same thing as everyone else. Will give myself an excuse, not to go to the gym that morning because I'm just absolutely knackered and I do work really hard. And so how do our excuses create failure? Because we're always putting something off. We're not being truthful with ourselves, yeah? And, if we talk about the physical body, if you're 10 kilos overweight and you're going, oh, I actually don't look too bad, or you give yourself the excuse around age, which is, I'm this age, everybody else my age is putting on weight. It's, whether you're going through menopause or you've gone through that. If you're a guy, I see a lot more guys that are unfit than I see women unfit, right? Carrying around that big beer belly. We can always put the excuse there that age is a number, that we suddenly stop looking after ourselves and stop looking after our physical well-being. It's a big excuse you're giving yourself. You can always exercise. Now, you might look at somebody who's fit and go, oh, I really admire that they're really in great shape. Well, what's the difference between you and them? It's not about motivation, it's about discipline and ritual, right? They have certain rituals in their life that they do on a daily basis that gets them fit. What it means, when the alarm goes off, they get up, they go early to the gym, or they go early for a run, or they go for a walk, or they go for a swim. Doesn't mean that they're super into doing it, right? Sometimes you can get really pumped up and into a flow when it comes to your physical well-being. But they're disciplined, and when they do work out, they put 100% in. I go to the gym, and a lot of the time I see so many people on those goddamn mobile phones, sitting on gym equipment on a mobile phone. And I'm like, I could really be on that equipment right now if you weren't twiddling your thumbs and spending 15 minutes on a machine when you could be spending 5 minutes doing 3 sets of reps, yeah? That's discipline. Undisciplined is sitting there staring at your phone in the gym when your body should be working out. So, if it comes to your health and well-being, if you wanted to lose weight, well, you need to up your standards, right? So what are your standards? So if your standards are you're going to eat junk food all the time, or you're going to tell yourself you can have that bag of chips or that block of chocolate, well, you've just given yourself an excuse, right? Because you'll go, oh, I'll eat better tomorrow. Well, you've still put a kilo on from eating that block of chocolate, right? So it's about being truthful with yourself. So how do we change that? Well, we up our standards. What does up our standards mean? Well, it means we eat better. So you know exactly what's nutritious for you. And it's about educating yourself around food. So, if I give you an example, and I'll share something personal with you, is that at the beginning of this year, I had a return of cancer in a lymph node. So I knew I was going into surgery. They were going to do a lymph node removal of all the lymph nodes on the right armpit. They also told me I had to have chemo, which I've never been comfortable with that. It was my second round of cancer. And so I was preparing myself. I brought a wig thinking my hair's going to fall out. You would have noticed on my YouTube channel I disappeared for a couple of months because I was recovering from surgery, which was, I have to say, in terms of the surgery, it's probably the most difficult physical challenge I've been through recovering from that surgery. But my weight had gone up, and I thought, well, I'm actually going to sit there with that higher weight up because I know if I go into chemo, I'm going to lose 10 kilos and that will put me down to my normal weight. I don't want to be too thin, right? So I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll pack myself with a little bit of extra fat. What happened out of that is it ended up being one lymph node only. So I was super lucky. I didn't have to go through chemo. I had to go on a different treatment, which is like an anti-cancer medication that you take. So what happens? I'm 10 kilos overweight because in my mindset, I've given myself this excuse that I needed to pile that, like to be at that certain weight because I'm going to go through chemo. Didn't happen. So, my worst case scenario thinking, which is obviously on medical advice as well, is that now I'm a few pounds overweight, quite a few, yeah. I'm still a size 10, darling, but I'm used to being down to a size 8. So for me, I'm kind of sitting at a 10 to a 12, which means that I now have to change my rituals so that I can get that weight off and I'm still exercising 5 to 6 days a week. But we can give ourselves these excuses to not do things, right? So how do we get on to losing that weight? Well, I've got to change my rituals around my eating. So going back to just very natural foods. So, spending an hour out of my week to pre-cook foods. So high protein, vegetables, that's it. Low carb. We have these fallacies about what we should be eating. Things like rice, pasta, bread, dairy, a lot of that, cereals, you don't actually need, your physical body doesn't actually need it, but what it does, those kind of things, white potato, all of that turns into sugar in your body. So if you're thinking you're eating healthy, you're actually turning all of those carbs into sugar in your body, which means that your sugars are then dysregulated. So we've got to look at the sugar balances in our body. If you walk around the shopping centre, the only aisles you really need to go to if you want to eat healthy is the vegetables and the meat, the very outer areas of the shopping centre. All those aisles in the middle that are all pre-packaged, you don't actually need. I would say to you the only other aisle I'd go up would be the vitamin and the protein powders, right? The rest is all packaged. It's food that's highly processed. Your physical body doesn't need it. So did I raise my standard? Yeah. So I've taken an hour out of my week, usually on a weekend, to cook up some meals that all I have to do when I'm hungry is reach into the fridge, pull one out and stick it in the microwave. That's as hard as it is. I've just upped my rituals, right? So it's not about motivation. It's about changing your standards, upping your standards and changing your rituals. Now, we could apply that to business. So, I have a lot of people that ask me, well, what is my purpose? Well, if you don't know your purpose or what your life purpose is, you're not in touch with yourself. Nobody external to you can explain to you what your life purpose is, because that's an internal passion and drive and motivation in terms of, well, what fires you up? What are you happy doing? We have this kind of value systems as human and what makes us happy. So what makes us happy? Well, often stability definitely is usually at the top of our list. So what does that mean? Like, we have a stable home environment. We can pay our bills. Yeah, we've got a job that we can go to, or we have a business that we do that creates that financial stability. The next one on our list is uncertainty and variety, right? So we don't want to be bored in life. So if you're in a job where you're completely bored, it means that you need to change something about it, yeah? If you're in a business, and I think the other thing we've got to kind of be mindful of is accountability. So it's not so much about having a goal, and like if you said to yourself, I want to lose 10 kilos, like I work with whiteboards all the time. I've got 3 going at the moment. That's what keeps me accountable. And is it, and I've got the numbers, each number of kilo that I'm going to, cross through once I've reached it. But does that fire me up? No. I have to have a vision for what fires me up. It means that I want to be fit, right? I want to be toned. I want to be feeling good within myself. I've hung up a couple of outfits in my bedroom on a rack that are ones that are slightly too tight right now. That's my motivation, right? That's my going, I'm going to get into those. You're going to feel loose. It's not going to, you putting a number on a board, that's not going to motivate you. You have to have rituals and you have to have discipline, right? Which means you've got to get up and you've got to do it, and do it now. Don't make the excuse of, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or instead of going to the gym, I might go for a gentle walk. No, you put on your board that you're going to the gym today, get up and go to the gym, right? What if you're going, well, I feel self-conscious? Well, everybody in a gym feels self-conscious. Everybody there is not there to look at you, right? They're focused on their physical body. They're focused on their routine. They're not looking at you. I mean, people might occasionally check people out, but they're more focused on themselves. People aren't focused on you, they're focused on themselves. Get some gear that you feel comfortable in to exercise in, that you feel good in, yeah? Do whatever it is that makes you feel like, okay, I feel good today, I'm going to go and exercise. If we have a look at the drive in terms of if you wanted to succeed more, if you're going, oh, woe is me and I don't have enough money in my bank account, or you're going through a dark night of the soul and everything feels overwhelmed, or you're consciously, you're struggling with anxiety or depression, well, it takes a lot of effort to focus on being depressed, right? It takes a lot of effort to focus on being in a state of anxiety. Why? Because that's all you're focused on. What if you took the focus off and stopped telling? You have to tell yourself a whole lot of stories to feel in a state of depression constantly, over and over again. What if you took that mental energy and that emotional energy to actually make yourself feel better? Instead of saying whole lots of negative things to yourself about your life and how you feel about yourself and put yourself down, what if you completely reverse that? You could change exactly how you felt in an instant, right? It takes a whole lot of energy to be depressed and anxious. It takes much less energy to be happy. And if you're going through life and you're in a state where everything's on top of you and you're not getting where you want to be, well, it's trying to tell you that you need to grow, and you're resisting change and you're resisting growth and you're holding yourself stuck. Often you're lying to yourself, right? And you're telling yourself you can't do something when in fact it's just the excuses you're giving yourself. It's the cop-out that you're giving yourself. Why is it that somebody else can do it and you can't do it? It's because they're taking action. And you know, if you're in a career or business or anything to do with your financial side and you're going it's not working, well, you've got to change your approach. If you're unemployed and you've been unemployed for a long time, you're holding yourself stuck. The only reason you're unemployed is because you're holding yourself stuck. What does that mean? There's a payoff in that. It means that you need to change your approach. Your approach is not working. It means you're not being accountable and truthful with yourself. What does that mean? Well, and you're going to tell me that you've tried absolutely everything. Well, you couldn't have tried absolutely everything if you're still unemployed, right? As harsh as that is. What does that mean? Well, perhaps you need to look at your resume and write your resume better, or your job application. If you don't know how to do that, find a friend that always gets job interviews and ask them for a copy of their resume and their job application. Go and talk to a recruiter and get them to look for a job for you. Go and do some contract work. Get a casual job that puts food on the table. Sometimes we have to have an ego death, right, to get out of what we think we should be. That we can only have one job or one path or one different level of salary. If you want to break into an industry, then you might need to take a lower level job that, you know, probably within 6 months you're in the job you want to be in. But you've got to let people get to know you and to trust you and to find that you do high quality work, and then they want you on their team, right? You might need to go and serve coffee at a cafe to put food on your table if you've been unemployed for a long time. Anything to get you out there. You know, it's always in our approach. And the sun's moving here, we're going into the dark. If you're in business and you're not making money, or you're doing something where you've been trying, it's not working, well, your approach is not working. Either you're trying to, you know, when we get into those kind of things, you can get stuck into creating a hobby and then trying to turn it into a business. Well, it always needs, let me go this way. Oh, the sun's come out very bright, darlings. Let's go this way. It always needs a business plan around it. It needs a business model. Because if you're just doing something for the fact that you love doing it, that's a great passion, but you haven't actually factored in the business side of it. So you have to become business smart. And if you don't know how to do that, you need to learn it, right? So if you're going into business, you need to be a marketer. You need to know how to build a client base. You need to know that you've got a minimum viable product, one that's going to sell. Right? So if it's not selling, then there's no demand for it, or you're trying to sell it to the wrong audience, or you haven't got an audience, you haven't got a client base. Is it priced too high? Does you need to tweak what you're doing so that it is a marketable, viable product? Yeah. And, you know, I work on doing multiple income streams, so it's never just one thing. And so if you've got something like that where you're just doing it because you're passionate about it, well, that's great. But then you've also got to have the business smarts to turn it into an abundance flow and to keep experimenting and to be willing to fail, right? And then to try again. It's not so much, well, if I apply more effort to what I'm doing, well, that's great. But if it's not getting you a result in the first instance, you're still going to get more effort but no results. Right? So you've got to be truthful with yourself about everything, and you've got to be accountable. So if you're trying something new, it doesn't mean giving up in the first instance if it doesn't show results. Sometimes you have to have persistence, right, and keep at it. But you've got to be accountable. Accountable with yourself and be truthful with yourself. Is it making me money? Okay, so if it's showing you signs that it is going to make money, you're getting orders, you're getting bookings, then how do I increase that? What do I need to do to increase that level? You know, so being very honest with yourself. If you're just doing the same thing over and over again and you're going, well, I'm trying my best. Well, are you? Because maybe it's your approach that needs to change. It might be your product or service that needs to change. It might be who you're trying to sell it to. You have to be smart. You have to research. Research first. Don't just do something because you're passionate about it. Research the market first. Is what I want to do, is there a market for it? Is there a trend happening? Are people buying the same products and services from someone else that I want to do? Sometimes if you're very innovative and you're trying to break into a market, well, it's going to take you a lot longer, right? because you've got to establish your own marketplace. I always, you can look at trends, and trends are a good thing to get onto, but you got to know that that trend's going to end at some point. When you're going into business, you want to look for an evergreen market, something that's going to continually grow, never going to stop, high demand, right? But you also got to be competitive in that space. So there's a whole lot of things you want to think about. And we've got to be mindful as business people around the excuses we give ourselves. How do we create chunks of time, and how do we be more productive? Stop giving yourself excuses like, I'll do it tomorrow. Do it now, right? Do it now. I do chunks of time in terms of time off. I don't give myself excuses around time unless I'm really tired and I need to have a rest, darlings. I just wanted to kind of get you to have a look at self and to explore what excuses are you giving yourself, whether it's around your health and well-being, whether it's around the fact that your money sucks at the moment, right? Whether it's the fact that you're bored in a job and you're not satisfied. And you can give yourself a whole lot of reasons and excuses why you don't change that situation. Mostly it's number one on the list, which is you want that security. But is the security making you happy? We have, in terms of what makes a human happy generally, it's one, they've got to feel secure. So 2 is a variety. So we want to mix things up. 3 is feeling significant. Sometimes you can be in a job and not be feeling like you're appreciated. That's the same in any kind of situation, even love relationships, you want to feel significant. Love and connection is up there as well. And, often then we get to purpose. So what is your purpose? And to feel purposeful. I don't do anything unless it has a purpose. So, I have lots of people that approach me for collab deals and all the rest of it. They're really just trying to leverage the traffic and leverage my audience. Is it a purpose? Is it aligned with what I'm doing? Absolutely not generally, right? So it's not something I'm interested in, and I'm very mindful about, I've created a community, and it's a very beautiful community, and I'm not going to expose my community to something I wouldn't buy myself, right? That I don't think has value to you. So I'm very protective of that, and everything I do with a purpose. You rarely see me taking selfies. Why? Because it has no purpose. It's vacuous, right? And I know people are interested in what everybody else is doing in their personal life. It's not me. It's got to have a purpose. It's got to have a message behind it. And, the last one on that list is contribution, which is giving back to others. And when you get to that point, you've often mastered self. And if you're giving yourself an excuse that, woe is me, I grew up in a terrible family environment and I've had so many things against me, rise above it. Do your healing work that you need to do and face that side of self. Nobody has a perfect life growing up, and some of it can be terrible. I know that. I've had to do my own healing journey, and I did it because I knew I needed to do it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to feel whole and balanced. And you can do that too, but it takes work, right? You've got to face your inner demons and your shadow side and conquer the shadow side. The biggest thing that will hold you back in life is your emotional state and your mindset. The things you're saying to yourself constantly, the excuses you're giving yourself on a daily basis, the fear-based thoughts that you allow to run your life, right? You can pack it up at any moment. It doesn't mean that you still don't have those fears come up, but you know how to manage them much quicker. So I kind of want to get you to explore today. I'm going to give you a challenge today to explore every time you give yourself an excuse today. And what is the excuse? Write it down. What excuse did I just give myself? And then in that instant, go, what can I do right now that's going to change that excuse? Instead of putting something off, do it now.